You're like, I'm gonna touch Goku. No. He's so big and strong. It's like, whoa.
Well, see, now that I know this might become an intro, I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do this?
I don't want to do it.
Oh, well, now you're stuck with it, so. Hi, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations about Culture, your seriously pointless podcast about all your nerdy and geek things throughout the ages. Today, I have a warm welcome for James. How you doing today, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
Good.
I'd like to add that we're doing weeb things now, too. We should add that to the list.
Oh, we're doing weeb things?
We're doing weeb things now,
We
too.
are weeb. We are weaving it up. I've got my waifu pillow upstairs. It's great. Actually, it's not. So one day, I'm going to so my wife actually has a full body, a foam pillow upstairs.
Okay.
I want to get a case for a waifu pillow case for it.
Oh, you should do that.
And just to mess with her. And she'll be she will lose her shit probably if it's the scantily clad girl.
You need to get a topless Goku or something.
Oh, she would be it's my pillow now. Not at all, probably.
Because she was into Dragon Ball Z, right?
She was, but I don't think she had any attachment to any of the characters like that.
Honestly, it'd be better if it was a character she recognized.
That's true. I don't know if I could maybe do Inuyasha.
Inuyasha would be good.
That would be fun, though. But yeah, that would be one of those weird, little things, I don't know, that I waste money on. And then she'd be why did you pay money for this? She probably wouldn't even get mad that I did it. She'd be more mad that I wasted the money to do it.
Probably.
That's my wife, so.
She can be practical like that.
Ooh, you are not joking. But anyways, before we get into the episode, the meat of the tender morsel that we have in front of us today, how you been doing, man?
I've been doing very well. Good. I feel like life is starting to get back to something resembling normalcy at this point.
Yeah. Finally.
Work has been calming down a little bit, and I say that with great hesitation.
Oh,
I feel like I should throw some salt over my left shoulder.
Let's do a little prayer to baby Jesus, dear baby Jesus. Don't let any more else people come into the hospital. Can we do that? Yes, that's my awful worst. I would, if I could do a Ricky Bobby voice, I would be great. That's what they talk to. Little sick 12-ounce baby, sweet baby Jesus.
No, let's not do that.
We're not going to do that?
We're not going to do that, no.
Okay, but you said things are going to get normal.
Things are slowing down a little bit, thankfully, so hopefully that will continue.
I hope so too, man. Like I said, I've noticing a little bit of slowdown at work. Luckily, we're not getting as many crazy people calls. I've noticed, so which is great.
Good.
It's not so much as and there's not as many people calling and complaining about the mask thing and things like that. So I think people have either finally figured out, hey, if I'm not going to wear a mask, stay at home. If I am going to wear a mask, I can actually go out and do some couple things. But I think. But I was reading the other day that. Actually, not to get into our local news, but we actually have one of the highest vaccination rates for the state. Actually, it was kind of surprising.
We do, and I've been very pleased with that.
I was very excited that so much so from what you told me. Apparently, some folks from St. Louis are coming down this way now to try to get some vaccinations.
That is correct.
Because they're impossible to get up
more
there.
than a few, apparently.
Yeah, just a little bit. I was telling the guys at work the other day.
That was very welcome news because it came right on the heels of the news article saying that apparently Missouri is the worst state in the nation for vaccination
We're
rates.
the best of the worst?
You know what? I would like to know the vaccination rate as a percentage of vaccines actually given to the state.
Yeah.
Are we the worst because we don't actually have any vaccines, or are we the worst because no one's taking them?
I bet
because I've got to say here in our hometown,
yeah,
they are going as fast as we can possibly get them to people.
That's kind of what I thought too. I think it's more of a percentage thing since our population is probably a little bit smaller compared to New York or California. We're not getting as many, I would think, or Florida even.
I mean, that was my guess. Is it's just it's not.
Well,
no one respects the Midwest.
Hey, we give you your beef, and it's what's for dinner, okay?
It is what's for dinner.
It's totally what's for dinner.
You're going to be hungry and cold.
That's
if
right.
you neglect us for too long.
That's right. Hey, you know what? And we have caves we can hide in, damn it, too. So if the world comes in, so
that is very true.
that is so many caves. Anyways, but yeah, have you been playing anything, man? Or
I have. I picked up a game this week that I've been having a lot of fun with called Sakuna of Rice and Ruin.
Okay, give me a breakdown real quick.
So this is about a god in like the celestial realm, and she's like the child of a harvest goddess and a war god, and she's a spoiled brat princess. And early on in the game, she gets tangled up with these 5 mortals, and she gets banished to this island of demons.
Huh.
And so she increases her power by growing rice, and the game has a frighteningly realistic rice growing simulator built into it. Which is the only way to advance your character's stats is to grow rice.
So you're telling me is you're basically doing farming simulator almost.
But while the rice is growing, it's also a side-scrolling, platforming like action type game.
Where do you find this? Where did you find this? Is this on Steam?
It is on Steam. It's also on Switch, which is what I'm playing it on.
Oh
it's great. So, I mean, the rice is very detailed. Like, it has 3 sprouting stages, and there's a budding stage. Oh my gosh, like, you have to sort the seeds, and you have to, seed the seedlings, and then, like, till and seed your field. And you have to maintain the right water level and fertilizer levels. And it's important, because otherwise you don't get better. But
you're basically playing Harvest Moon at this point.
If you get to kick ass after you finished farming, yes.
I love you to death, man. I love you to death.
It's really a great game. The characters are funny. Yeah. It's got pretty much full voice acting in it. It's got good dialogue.
I'll have to check. Did it just get released or has it been out?
It just dropped like in November or something. It's actually rated really high. I think it got like an 8 or a 9 or so on Metacritic.
I'll check your page out and see if I can find it. Maybe.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I guess it is a little different.
Hey, you know what?
But it's fun. It's something I haven't seen before,
and that's what I love about some of those games, especially. Is I'm assuming it's a Japanese studio that made it. I'm assuming.
I honestly don't know
if it is, because it just sounds something very Japanese, like something they would do. They throw these different weird like mechanics into it, and they make it a little different than like. Or like take like 2 genres. Like
if it isn't Japanese studio, then someone spent a lot of time researching Japanese rice farming techniques. Is all I have to say.
It's kind of like the guys that did the medieval like open world RPG that was released a while ago, and it's like super realistic. Like you can die from the plague in there, and it's just like if you don't, and it's like it's a survival simulator, and it's legit, dude. And I'm like, somebody did a lot of research.
Can you eat moldy bread to survive the plague?
Yes.
Nice.
I'm sure there is a thing in there. I was watching somebody play it on Twitch the other day, and I was just like, holy shit. I'm like, this is insane. I'm like, the amount of detail and the poverty, and like, it's literally like, it's just like you're back in medieval England. I'm like, you know what? This is too real. I'm like, I'll stick to my TV shows that glamorize the medieval times.
Yeah, so, the game, you explore this island, you defeat demons. And as you explore more stuff, you unlock more areas, and you kind of discover what's going on in the island. So it's actually a really good game in its own right. I enjoy it.
That's a glowing recommendation. I will definitely pick it up. So on my end, I've actually been doing a lot of re-editing on the podcast. So that has been sucking up my time mostly between. This is my long week at work, so I had like 2 days off.
Which he just showed me some of the stuff he's re-edited, and the intros are much cleaner, guys. I think you'll really enjoy them.
And I'm throwing a little flavoring in there. As my wife called them, they're called buttons.
Buttons?
It's a professional radio term that I have never heard before, and apparently,
because of course she knows that. I've never.
That's why I love her, because she has all this amazing knowledge that I'm just like, you know what? I call it the intro, and she's like, it's called a button, David. That's why she has a master's degree, and I have simple, lowly bachelor's degree.
Okay. I think she might be pushing your buttons.
She probably is pushing my buttons. Thank you for that. Thank you. And it's already started. Okay. So, between that and letting things edit, I have been playing the, actually, Civ 6. I've been replaying that. They actually came out with 2 new Civs, or revamps of Civs. It's they came out with the Cambodia Civ, and they came out with a different type of Genghis Khan or a Mongolia Civ. So it's, you know how like Genghis Khan, his original like race or original Civ that he does, it's very warlike.
Okay.
So in the other one, they kind of flip it on its head a little bit, and he's all about trade routes.
Okay.
And it's a lot more. He's more of an economic powerhouse. Put it this way. I simply bought my way to a diplomatic victory.
You just bought it.
Yeah, and so and you literally, so the more as you build, every time you have a trade route to each of the whatever city you're going to, automatically creates a trade post there. Doesn't matter if it makes it there or not. If it gets wiped out by barbarians. I had 17 trade routes, James.
I mean, did you just name your empire Amazon.com or something?
I thought about it for about half a second. I was just like, maybe I can be Jeff Bezos. Well,
I'm the Jeff Bezos of the ancient world.
That's right. It wouldn't be Jeff Bezos anymore. He stepped down, but yeah, it's similar. Yeah, so I would totally be. I felt like it. I was just like, I was making 732 gold a turn.
Holy cow! No wonder you just bought the world.
It was stupid, dude.
That is just stupid.
It was ridiculous, and I thought I was like going to get screwed because I had Cyrus next to me. Of you know which one that he's.
It sounds like that's going to show up on perfectly balanced games with no exploits pretty soon.
Not at all.
They feature Civ stuff on
Dude,
a pretty regular basis.
I caught it so fast. Maybe it was also my placement, but I was on like more of a northern part of the map too, so I had a lot more like tundra tiles too. But I eventually was just like, I had Montezuma against me and I had Cyrus against me, which those are like two warlike nations, and also had Rome even below them. And I still like did fine. Like, and I was playing on, I'm going to say king mode because I just wanted to play it out.
With that kind of income, you don't even need a standing army. You can just wait till someone attacks you and then just buy troops.
I literally did that. That's what I did. And I was like behind them and technologically too. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to buy my technologies and all my, I had, even though like, I forgot Montezuma was like almost a whole age ahead of me. The sheer amount of like troops that I had compared to him, it was just like, I'm just going to wipe you off the face of the earth.
You may have 3 tanks, but I have 300 musketeers.
That's right. Oh, what hose? It's just like, oh god. But yeah, so that's what I've been up to. It was just glorious. It wasted a lot of time that I was just good for because I'm staying up overnight, obviously trying to stay awake. But talking about stuff we were just having tons of fun with, and hopefully things that we're going to have tons of fun with. Today's episode is actually going to be the top 5 anticipated intellectual properties for 2020.
This was a challenging one because they don't announce games in advance like they used to.
No, especially like some of the smaller niche ones, especially unless it's already got a following, like say. I'm sure I'm gonna torpedo yours already here. Binding of Isaac one, I know, or other things, but they don't have the budget to really.
And I think it's that we all know a lot of these games are coming. I just don't think there's as much incentive to announce them early because one, so many games are coming out these days that even a big name game will get lost in the shuffle if you announce it too soon.
Absolutely.
And then 2, people aren't going to have to stockpile physical cartridges for a year. They can just release it to the e-store and people download it.
Yeah, it takes like 2 seconds.
And so I think it's just because before, like when we were growing up, these games were probably done a full year before they released.
Yep.
Because they had to market them and they had to make cartridges and everything else.
Yeah, and it's a whole new world with this digital marketplace.
These days, you just hit the button.
I know, and a lot of times they get mess ups. Like I remember we were talking about one of the episodes we just did when we're recording this Hades episode. Will have been out for a little bit. It's talking about their release.
Yeah, they dropped the game mid conference. They were at they were at E3 discussing it, and the game dropped like halfway through their conference.
Was it through their conference? I thought it was at a Game Awards show.
It was a Game Awards show or something.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, it was a Game Awards show. Yeah, but yeah, so they dropped that, and then on top of that, they found out the website that it's supposed to send you to didn't work. So it's just like, even though you have all these things set up, little things can go wrong, even when you're not a humongous team. Like they're not a big team, but yeah, it's interesting to see how things go. But
so I've tried to limit myself to things that are definitely coming out this year,
things that have been announced, and I've noticed whenever I was kind of like. I had like 14 tabs open of top 10 anticipated IPs of this year, or blah blah blah, or comic books, or whatever it was. And I was just like, man, there's a lot of stuff I totally didn't even know was coming out, or like I hadn't forgot it, or I forgot
Seriously,
about.
Especially on the PlayStation 5 end of things.
Yeah.
They have a lot of games teed up that I had no idea were even in the works.
Which, in their defense, they're
like platformers and puzzlers and like non-shooter titles, so I'm definitely getting the PS5.
Well, it kind of grinds my gears a little bit. Pulling a Peter Griffin, it really grinds my gears, And I was thinking to myself, it's like, well, why didn't they just wait and like release the PS5 a little later when they had a bit of a bigger catalog, because right now, from what I've talked to my buddy, I mean, they have like a few games out, but they don't have a ton of stuff. They don't have any big games other than like, I think they released...
there was Demon's Souls.
Yeah.
There was the Sackboy game.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm told was actually really excellent.
I heard
surprisingly awesome.
I heard the very minimum, even if you don't like the gameplay in it, or the revamped gameplay, the music is amazing, and apparently it just sets the tone perfectly.
And then there's the other one, it was like God Wars or something.
It's not God Eater, is it?
No, I can't remember the name of it. People are going to get mad.
Godfall.
Godfall, that's
what it was, yeah.
It looks breathtakingly gorgeous, but the word on the street is that the gameplay is very repetitive.
I got it on PS Now, which is like their streaming service they had, but you can also download stuff. And they released it to that beforehand, and it was the PS4 version. It was disappointing to say the least. It's super repetitive. I played it for maybe 3 hours, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah, because I saw like the trailer for it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is finally going to be the Diablo killer that we've been talking about for decades now. But it's just not. Not
even close. And it was quite disappointing, honestly, to say the least. But let's start without going drawn out with everything, and land blasting PS5 for their choices. And come out with more consoles, damn you. Just do it. You can do it.
And that's what we're salty about, is I just want one.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't want to pay...
I'm not going to pay a scalper $900 for one.
If that, dude. Yeah, and that's on the low end. For a while there, they were selling for like $2,200. There's a guy I work with. He bought 2 of them. Or he bought 3 of them. Sorry, he bought 3 of them. He sold 2 of them, and he got basically almost $2,000 from each of those. So he made $4,000 off each of those and kept one for himself.
How in the world did he get 3 of them? Anyway, moving on.
Exactly.
Okay, what's your first IP you're looking for?
So let's start. So we've got a little bit of mishmash. We're not doing these in any kind of order, guys. My first IP is actually...
We've deliberately picked things that the other person didn't pick. So.
That's true, which is great. So we can kind of...
There's some overlap between our tastes, but we picked different things.
Absolutely. So talking about games that are going to release. So if anybody's listened to this, the podcast before, and my guest appearances on other places... I'm a huge Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham Asylum fan. I love what Rocksteady does with that. So I'm super excited for the Gotham Knights video games coming out. It's a co-op game concerning the basically the supplemental characters of the Batman.
Is this like a split screen co-op, or is this like an online co-op?
No, you can play online or split screen. I think either one. I'm assuming, but I think the way they're showing it on the reveal trailer is that it's multiple people playing. I think you can have up to 3 or 4 people playing at once, and you can play. So the whole premise of the game is that it's their Batman and Commissioner Gordon are presumed dead, which I'm assuming they're not, because they can't kill off Batman. If they kill off Batman, it's all done. So, anyways, lawlessness basically runs the whole city of Gotham, and it's up to Batman's proteges. So at this point, you got Dick Grayson, Nightwing, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, Tim Drake, who is the newer Robin, and Jason Todd, who's the Red Hood. Okay. They basically all kind of pop up and kind of take over the mantle of him, or take up where Batman's left off. So this is kind of a Batman Death in the Family kind of thing.
Okay.
Where from the comic books, where they kind of step in and they start to do a lot more with the other characters, but they do a lot of really cool things. They're pulling a lot of things from the comic books that they haven't had in the video games. Like they've got the Court of Owls that are thrown there, which is like the super secret society that's been around since the founding of Gotham.
Really?
And they have, obviously they're going to put the mainstays in there, Mr. Freeze, the Penguin, all these other bad guys in there. But the cool mechanic of it is it's kind of an open world multiplayer co-op game, which I'm interested to see how you do this. Like, so I don't know if you've played in the other games.
So it's more open world then.
It's definitely more. Because
I will say, whenever you told me like it was 4 players, I thought this is going to be more like one of those Marvel versus DC type things where you just pull in the characters and it's kind of a basic beat 'em up type game.
No, it's not going to be like Ultimate Alliance or anything like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Which I love those games too.
They are good games.
I was a whore for those games back in the day. But anyways,
but they're not the height of sophistication.
So kind of what I'm assuming they're going to do is they're going to have individual worlds set up on servers for you and your friends.
Okay.
And so you can either drop in, you can either have it set up to where it's kind of like either whatever, like WoW, where you can drop into a specific type of world, like say, and just drop in, private servers or something like that, and you can drop in and play with people. or you can play with your friends up to 4 people, and you can literally just all travel around this world and doing whatever you want, but you all end up having to work together. I'm sure they'll make a rule for that, like, hey, and like, if you want to play by yourself, you can play. You don't have to be on a server. You can play on the game, or if you want to play with people to get stuff done. Because I'm sure
sounds cool.
I'm sure there's going to be challenges in there because in like the original games, there are always like these. There's combat challenges. There's gliding challenges. There's car challenges. There are Riddler trophies that you have to find. I'm talking like hundreds of Riddler trophies.
It sounds like this is a pretty big like style departure from the Arkham series, though.
It is a little bit. So I think the biggest thing that they're throwing in there obviously is that stylistically wise, it's they're each the characters are going to have their own fighting style.
Okay.
I think some are going to be more in close and some are going to be further away. I think like the Red Hood, Jason Todd, he's going to have actually like guns, which like 2 pistols, which will be interesting to see. So I'd be interested to see how it goes. And it's supposed to be released, from what I remember, later in the year. I don't think they're actually set to try and release it anytime soon. Like, it definitely feels like more of a November-ish, October-ish type
like a fall
thing.
Christmas season type release.
So we'll see. But
yeah, I haven't seen a ton of it hit the news cycle yet, so it probably,
like I said, it's
not spring for sure.
No, it's definitely not that. But they released a trailer for it. But without going more into mine, what's your first RPG?
So my first one is the one you already mentioned, which was The Binding of Isaac.
Oh yeah,
Repentance, which we've talked about The Binding of Isaac before on our show, but just to recap real quick, The Repentance is a new expansion for the game, which is the quote-unquote final expansion, which, to be fair, Edmund McMillen has said that for like the last 2 expansions. But it's based on, more than loosely based on the Anti-Birth mod, which was tremendously popular.
It was very good.
Yeah. They announced it in 2018. It's been cooking for a while. Mm-hmm. Supposedly it's coming out this spring.
Because does he have a team working with him now?
Yes, he's had a team for a long
That's
time.
What I thought.
And the team from the Anti-Birth mod was brought on board for this, too.
Okay.
So they were included. It's got at least 10 new challenges, 2 new characters, including like Jacob and Esau and Bethany. Mm-hmm. It's got a whole alternate path going down the basement, so there's a whole new set of floors.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hundreds of new rooms, hundreds of new items, a new ending to the game. And it sounds like they've put a lot of time into padding out the item synergies, too, so most of the items should work together now and not just override each other. So
I don't know what you're talking about, James.
So it's exciting. It's going to be cool.
I am super excited to see it. So when is it set to come out? Do you know?
They're saying March 31st on the Steam page. Now, I will tell you, in the past, Edmund has kind of used the Steam pages as a placeholder. So I think it will be sometime in the next month or 2. They're in the final stages of everything. And they've started their little blog things, which they usually do a month or 2 before release. So I think it will be pretty soon, but I don't have a date.
So I'll be interested to see, too. Like you said, I don't know if this is going to be his last one, because, I mean, this is kind of his cash cow, honestly, to make other projects that he enjoys.
Yeah, and word on the street is he might be going back to Mugenics again.
So
I don't know if you remember that one.
I don't think I remember that one. That'd be
cool. After The Binding of Isaac and after Rebirth, he started working on different games, and one idea they came up with was Mugenics, and they even did a whole trailer with music and stuff for it.
Huh.
And the idea was it was going to be something where you would breed cats and you'd mutate them, and then you would use them in beauty pageants and battling and stuff.
That sounds amazing.
Kind of like a Monster Rancher Pokemon type thing, apparently, but with mutated cats.
That sounds
so it sounded really cool, and they had a really funny trailer for it, and then it just kind of died. He had made this whole cat genetics part of the game, and then I think he just lost sight of what the game was supposed to be. But word is that he's gone back to that, and I'm excited for Mugenics when it eventually comes out.
That sounds amazing. So I have to tell you about this. So that immediately made me think about. So I don't know. Did you remember South Park? Have you played the second one?
Of course.
So you know the part
where fractured butthole.
So you've seen the part where they go up to the genetics lab, and that's all I can think about is the cats with all the animals with all the butts, and they have cats in there too that have the same thing.
And that was straight out of the first season of South Park. The geneticists and I made a chimpanzee with 18 asses, and it's
and they're like, why?
And that's the only thing he does. He makes animals with more butts than they should have.
But I love how he's a weird Dr. Monroe analogy.
Yes.
This is amazing. That's exactly where my mind went for your cat experiment game that you're talking about with Edmund.
It's got kind of the same vibe to to it. I think it'll be cool.
I might actually have to grab that. That sounds pretty fun, actually. That sounds bonkers enough that if I start playing it, Jackie will be like, and if it makes Jackie go, I know it's a good game sometimes.
It's like, why does your cat have 3 butts?
Why not? I mean, multiple farting power, I'm just saying.
That's right. He's gas-powered.
That's right.
More efficient this way.
Hey, soon I'll put solar panels on him. He'll be eco-friendly then, so. Ooh. I know. So, moving on, I'm going to skip to a different type of nerdiness. I'm going to go into anime a little bit. So, we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast about how we had a little bit of feelings towards it. I'm kind of excited for The Promised Neverland Season 2.
I'm excited as well, and I'm told it's already started. It was in the spring anime run. The first 4 or 5 episodes are out already now.
So the only reason I did that was because obviously it started in 2020. The second season started in 2021. Even though I know that this is going to be coming out a little bit later, it'll probably be about halfway through the season.
I think it still counts.
So
I have some of that stuff too.
So if you guys are not familiar with that premise of Promised Neverland, so it's literally. There's these kids that are in this orphanage and they're kind of not allowed to leave. They're basically trapped within a certain boundary of a forest, kind of essentially.
And kind of the whole anime has to do with like this ongoing horror of them realizing what the purpose of the orphanage is,
without ruining it.
It, and then their subsequent attempts to escape the situation.
Yeah, and once they finally obviously do escape, that's not ruining too much. The second season kind of deals with that, and then out in the world the world that's not our own,
I guess. And I'm really looking forward to this one too. Now I know there's already a bit of controversy on this because I have not watched this yet because like we said before, I usually watch the dubs.
Yeah.
But I'm told they skipped like 30 chapters in the manga, which some people are really salty about. Now I have not read the manga for this one, so
but I mean, if it's
I don't know if it even matters from a story standpoint or not. So I'm just going to go in blind and enjoy it.
But if it has something, if it feels like a Shonen Jump kind of like extra stuff that you don't need, and it's like, why would you? I mean, there's a lot of stuff, like if you read mangas, like you can tell that the author is literally just writing stuff to fill sometime, like the space, like while gets his other narrative going sometimes. It's just filler sometimes.
Well, and also give the whole season its time. They might be bouncing back and forth. They may have just changed the order of presentation rather than cut it entirely.
But then again, people get salty about the most random things sometimes.
That's honestly something I like about some anime that comes out, especially anime that's based on like light novels.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those are based on web novels, and they can have a pretty cold start as the author's kind of introducing the world, and sometimes skipping ahead to an interesting part and then backing back to the stuff.
Kind of wrapping it around a little bit.
It works better. That way you don't have 3 episodes of mind-numbing exposition before you get to something that happens.
I don't know why you wouldn't want to sit there and listen to them talk about their whole backstory that actually ends up not mattering at all, about this one time that they went fishing with the grandpapa, and then grandpapa fell into the river, and now you will fight for his glory. And I'm like, what? What does this have to do with anything? Anyway, so yeah, I know. You felt the fire burn within you right then, didn't you? So
Promised Neverland is super exciting.
So I'm super excited to see that, hear from that. But like I said, I'm gonna probably wait for that one too, for the season to finish. So I'm not, because on a couple other animes, I've already started them for the new seasons of the year, and I think I'm kind of falling back into your boat a little bit. Like, I'm not gonna watch it week by week. I'm just gonna let it go.
It depends on the show. Like some shows I do like to watch week by week, but these high drama shows like Promised Neverland, I like to just wait till I can watch them all together. I do that with like Attack on Titan too.
Yeah.
Just because it's doing it week by week hurts too much.
Yeah, just like it's kind of like,
but
it's kind of
something like My Hero Academia or Fire Force. Yeah. I watch those week by week because I think that's how they're meant to be consumed.
They've got a very serial episode, or they've got a very episodic
that's
kind of
nature.
Nature,
very episodic nature to
which now you just fell into my comic book. My comic book world, when I used to collect a ton of them, that's how I felt month by month, James. I'd be like, what happened here? I'm like, this is dumb. Why can't I just read it all at once? It's just like, you just killed off my favorite character. And it's just like, and that's how I felt. And eventually I was like, you know what? I can't deal with this anymore. I was just like, graphic novels it is.
I can't imagine being someone who was like reading Sandman or something week by week.
Oh my!
Because that's
month by month. So
month by month.
So back then they literally just did monthly releases unless it was something special like that. Mm-hmm. So that came out. That has a total of like 60 something.
Or like
issues.
Watchmen as well, something which is clearly like a tightly written story.
Yeah.
But
monthly issues, my friend.
Yeah, I don't know how you did that.
I'll
read the anthologies and be happy.
Well, luckily, that all stuff came out before I even started collecting comics, and so I could only imagine if you were in that time frame. They were just like back when the comics industry was also a lot looser, and you had like a lot more limited places to go get comics, especially.
Yeah.
Unless you were in a big city, you'd have to probably travel to a specific spot and get them. So I can only imagine, but it was bizarre. So that was my number 2 before we go further. And what's your number 2?
My number 2, and I'm putting this on here with some trepidation, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come out this year, Psychonauts 2.
Okay. Yep.
We talked before about Psychonauts. It's one of my all-time favorite games. Psychonauts 2 is going to pick up right after Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin.
That's right.
Which was it was a VR game that Tim Schafer made out of nowhere, which started right after Psychonauts 1.
It probably was, PlayStation was like, hey, you want to make a VR game? And he's like, sure, give me the money.
But apparently during that, they did a little mission, and they rescued the head of the Psychonauts, Truman Xanato.
Okay, cool.
But this story is going to pick up where they get to the Psychonaut headquarters. They're going to discover that the organization's not all that it seemed. They said that the organization's been changed by its second-in-command and kind of drifted away from the peacekeeping efforts and more towards unorthodox studies, including, apparently, necromancy.
Ooh.
And this is something which is the height of irony, but Psychonauts 2 has been bought out by Microsoft.
Yep.
Which, if you remember the first time we talked about Psychonauts, this is part of the reason why Psychonauts 1 had so much trouble, was Microsoft bought them and then dropped them.
Yep.
And now, at the very end of the development of the sequel, Microsoft not only bought out the game, but they also bought out all the debt that Tim Schafer had accumulated making the game.
Yep. They actually bought Double Fine Studios.
They bought the whole studio, yeah.
Which is insane, which I was just like, okay. I'm like, I guess he's going to work for the big boys now, which, I mean, hopefully they leave him alone to do his thing, but unfortunately...
I would think at this point he's got the track record, you could leave him alone. But I'm promised that Raz is going to start understanding what the word girlfriend means.
No.
It's going to explore his family curse.
He won't.
It should definitely be out this year. Like, Tim Schafer put out a tweet a month ago saying that the voice acting work was done. Mm-hmm. And that's usually one of the last things that they finish.
Do you know if they're using all the same voice actors? Because I really like those.
I don't know.
Okay.
There was a list of people, but I didn't write them down, so...
That's okay. It's not, like I said, this is very casual.
This is casual. So I think they're using the same voice actors. It wouldn't be the same game if they didn't.
That's what I would think, too. Even though, like, say, even between Rhombus of Ruin and now, it's been, 5 years?
Yeah. So they said that all the levels are definitely done. The voice acting is definitely done. And apparently they had cut a bunch of boss fights, which they got to add back in because Microsoft was giving them more money to develop it. So
sure, give us all the money.
It sounds like it's at the home stretch for a game that's been in development for way the heck too long.
Yeah, that's Tim Schafer for you, man. It's like, if it's a personal project, I think he's kind of a perfectionist in that sense a little bit.
Well, in Psychonauts was like his pull himself out by his bootstraps project, and it's become a baby. Yeah,
it's his baby.
It's a magnum opus.
I can really, we're gonna do that again. Oh my goodness. So that's why I think I'm really interested to see how he does with it, because I like it a little bit more. I think just watching the gameplay of it a little bit more than the first one. So I will definitely, at the very minimum, give it a chance. Mm-hmm. So, and the good thing about this is, since they got bought out by Microsoft, I don't know if that's going to go to the PS5 or not, but it'll definitely be available on Steam. I know that probably.
It's definitely going to Steam, and it's definitely, or PC at least. I'm not sure if it'll be Steam in specific. They had promised it was going to go to a bunch of platforms in the original Kickstarter that started the game. So, to my knowledge, they're still honoring that, and it's still going to release on all platforms. Okay. We'll see what Microsoft actually does, but last I heard, they were planning on honoring all the Kickstarter stuff.
Microsoft, unlike PlayStation, I'm going to throw some shade there, they're a little bit better at playing nice with other people. I've noticed, like, when they bought out Bethesda, they were like, the Deathloop, which is the one I was talking about, it was, they were contractually obligated to release for PlayStation or Sony products for like a month or two before it gets released to all these other platforms. And Microsoft, was like, yeah, we're cool with that. We're fine with that. And then they're okay with that. They're not, then they we're specifically saying we have no plans to limit the releases of these IPs to the PlayStation systems or the Nintendo system. Because why would you limit it to another like system when it's just like, hey, I can make more money from these other systems?
Well, and I think Microsoft is positioned to focus on a more integrated experience because they own Windows.
Yeah, they do.
And so for them, PC and computers and the console systems have to be a matter of some kind of indifference. As long as they sell you the game, they've sold you the game.
I mean, that's
so if they can control the marketplace on the PC and the marketplace on the Xbox, then they're pretty much good to go.
Yeah, they really are, honestly, and the North American market is just solid, but the problem they have to run into is getting it outside of the North American and European markets, because that's where they get a lot of stuff. It's hard for them to get into the Japanese market, I think, a little bit more.
It's been kind of PlayStation and Nintendo dominated for a long time.
Yeah, and then unfortunately that's where it goes into. But speaking of other games, talking about Sony properties and dominating markets, that I'm super excited, even though it's coming out of technically Sony Santa Monica, which it's the Sony based California company of the same name, obviously. It's God of War Ragnarok. So you have not have you played any God of War games at all?
I have not played any of the God of War games. I'm familiar with the loose idea of the plot.
Yeah.
Of Kratos covered in the ash of his family, and he's on this vengeance quest to kill all the gods, which I think was the first game.
That's roughly the first 3 games.
Yeah, I know he pretty much goes through all of like Greek mythology and kills everybody.
So this,
and judging from Ragnarok, I'm guessing he's moving on to a new pantheon for this one. So
that's what they did with the last one. So once you get your PS5, I'm going to let you borrow my. I have the Ultimate Edition or the Gold Edition or whatever it is.
Collection of them.
Yeah, it's the Gold Edition of the new one. It's literally just called God of War.
So I heard they revamped it. Yeah,
they revamped it, and it is gorgeous. And you're thinking, oh, it's just going to be a regular beat 'em up, whatever. But no, it's been out long enough. I can spoil it for some people, and I can give you a little bit of a taste without ruining it. So the whole thing of the story is he's basically ran away from Greece, and he's living in the northern part of the world, essentially. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming somewhere around like Norway or something like that, because obviously he ends up fighting the Norse gods. But whenever he gets in there, he has a boy with him who you find out later is his son, obviously, and he basically has to try and fight this pantheon and this mythology, the creatures within this mythology, and it's really well done. Okay, and like you interact with the Norse gods and all this other stuff, and that's kind of what they build up to is like this is Ragnarok, like he's kind of bringing about either the end of the world or it's the end of the Norse gods world or something like that. You don't really know what's going on with this one, and it's interesting. So I'm really.
Does he gnaw at the root of the world tree?
You definitely see it.
You see it.
You see it in the first game. Like I said, they do an amazing job at tying in all the mythology.
Okay, I'll look forward to that.
And on top of it, it's gorgeous. So if you don't get it, I will definitely end up buying it because I sat there and played it, and there's so much extra stuff like. My buddy I have a buddy that actually platinumed it, and it's one of the harder ones that I've come across. You have to actually fight some Valkyrie, actually end up fighting the Valkyrie Queen, and all that other stuff. And they're actually a pain in the ass to fight. So, anyways, but they're planning on getting this thing out, and hopefully in 2021, it does not have a confirmed date. I'm gonna assume it's later in the year.
Yeah, and that's going to be a lot of this list,
unfortunately. They just
don't announce these dates like they used to.
But yeah, this will follow, like I said, Kratos and his son, Atreus. So
the next one I've got for you is a little bit more obscure.
Okay.
And this is kind of a cautious recommendation. It's called Mushoku Tensei.
Okay.
This was originally a web novel. It's from 2012 to 2015. So this is one of the early... isekai type web novels.
Okay.
And we've seen a lot of the other ones come out in anime form now, and they're reaching back for this one too. So this is on like the first wave of the whole isekai genre before it got tired out. It's had a light novel and manga adaptation that started in 2014. They're both still running now. It even had an audio drama and a mobile game. But it's about a 34-year-old Japanese NEET who got evicted from his parents' home following their death.
Oh, wow.
Like, he didn't even go to their funeral, and his family throws him out. And he concludes his life as worthless, and he saves a girl who was about to get run over by a truck, and he gets killed by the truck, and he gets reborn in a new world. So, standard isekai type stuff. But it starts with the guy's birth, and it goes all the way to his death, like at age 74.
It's kind of cool.
And it's actually pretty well done for that. This is definitely for adults.
Yeah.
Not in the sense that it's graphic, but it definitely has some adult themes in it. So not for kids.
So I can appreciate that. So because sometimes you got to get outside the shonen a little bit, or the kind of the high school girl type stuff. What are those? I can't remember what those called.
Shoujo.
Shoujo, yeah. So you have to kind of get out of those a little bit, because sometimes it's good to get a more, like you said, a more adult oriented like stuff, not where it's like sexualized and things like that, but it also has more adult themes like love, loss, tragedy, things like that are not just like super over the top.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where the cautious part of the recommendation comes from, is I think the original story had really good bones to it.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that with a good editor, it's going to be good. I watched the first 5 episodes are already out, subtitled.
Oh, okay.
I watched the first episode and a half, and it looks like they're doing a pretty good job with it. The animation's definitely gorgeous. So, fingers crossed. Hopefully Mushoku Tensei will be really, really good.
So would you recommend it, Daniel? Are you watching with Kelly, or?
I don't know. I probably watch it with her once it gets dubbed up.
Okay. I didn't know if they were doing that. So they're only doing subs right now? Okay.
Well, it's Funimation picked it up. I don't know if it's going to be part of their simul dub or not. Usually they pick up the show and the first 7 or 8 episodes will be subtitled before they get the dubs going. Yeah. But with the way this COVID thing has been going, they've been dumping their dubs 3 or 4 episodes at a time every couple weeks. And so, I don't know. Their simul dub used to be a really well-oiled weekly thing, and you were 3 episodes behind whatever was subtitled. And we still don't have all the winter stuff. We're still waiting on the last couple episodes of the winter anime.
Yep.
So it's coming. It's coming.
You just got to have a little more patience with everything going on. Things will get back to normal. It's just going to take a little bit. But yeah. So popping off your anime kick, talking about one you already kind of mentioned. I am super psyched for Attack on Titan season 4, the final season of Attack on Titan.
Yes, and I'm still waiting to see if they all die horribly or if they succeed.
So I'm kind of excited to see. So this one will actually cover the big chapters of the manga. Have you read any of the manga at all?
I have not touched the manga because I was enjoying the anime so much that I didn't want to get ahead of it.
Yeah, so I would highly. So what I did is I read up to about where they're talking about here. So it's the final chapters of it between chapters 91 and 106 and 107.
Okay,
that's the final arc of it. So I read up to chapter 90 and I just stopped. So I think I might actually have to go back and reread some of it. Unfortunately,
maybe you'll have to do that because
it's fun. And they do a lot of little extra things in there that make it worthwhile. So okay. I don't want to ruin any of it for you, but it's phenomenal. I had a good time.
I get though. It's in some ways it can be easier to world build in text form and in picture form than in anime,
as opposed to because the simple fact that one shot you have on the anime screen or the TV screen might take you 3 weeks to edit or draw and make it all perfect and get the sound in it, and that's only a 30-second scene, and all these episodes are 20, 25 minutes a piece kind of thing, so you can imagine how long it takes them.
I think stuff comes to life better in anime. You can show the world better, you can show the characters better, but when it comes to explaining things, they can't have a big wall of text like you can in a manga. Which is not necessarily a good thing either. Now that I'm saying it out loud, but
well, I mean, there are no.
But sometimes the small details fit better.
Well, you also run into problems with Alan. Here's a good example of going in my area a little bit more comic books. Alan Moore, the man, he will exposition dump like nobody's business. If you read Watchmen, right? So you know there are it's literally just an entire wall of text at some point. Half the page is almost taken up, or he'll do things like that with the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and it's just bizarre. I'm like, who does that?
And I kind of wonder, how does a really famous published illustrator still do that? For me, that's a fan fiction thing. That's a mark of an amateur when you have massive info dumps.
But
it means you didn't reveal things ahead of time like you needed to. But I guess it works for him.
Sometimes, but the same. Sometimes, a lot of times, it's stuff that you need to know, and a lot of times, if it's stuff that you need to know, I can see it a little bit, but just don't overuse it. Well,
the one thing I like in The Watchmen is he broke that up a little bit by deliberately having like news article or like text style chapters in between the big arcs, and that worked out well.
I think he figured that out a little bit later on, like as he was kind of breaking it up, and he kind of broke it up a little bit better. So, but it was good. So kind of going back into the manga thing. So, like obviously, like I said, this is going to cover the last part of the manga, which it's called Marley and the War for Paradise, which
this is where they've. I guess we can spoil up to where the last season
let's spoil
stopped.
It up, yeah.
So they had finished reclaiming the walls, and they wrote out. They found the ocean, and they've learned from the journals in the basement that they are this tiny remnant of this oppressed people.
Yep.
And there's this ancient god involved somehow.
Yeah.
And there's this giant, vastly technologically superior civilization.
Yep. On the other side of the ocean.
They essentially live on a a little island.
Yeah, it's essentially like a tiny version of Australia, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna stick you over here because we think you guys are dangerous." And they're like, "Well, in that case, we're gonna create our own country."
It's like the last couple episodes of Gun X Sword, where it just turns everything on its head.
Yeah,
and it was cool, but you watch that, and I'm thinking. There's going to be more episodes because this doesn't make any damn sense now.
No, that's what I was going to say. Is just like,
and so hopefully the author's going to try and pull all this together.
So from what I'm noticing, so like I was saying, I'm 2 episodes. I just started the second. I was watching the second episode when he showed up today, and I kind of started watching a little bit last night. But they're kind of info dumping a little bit.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of if you had a long running D&D campaign.
Yes.
Where the DM has spent a lot of time world building and built a good story.
Yeah.
And you're getting to like the end of the arc or the end of the campaign, and suddenly the DM realizes that he hasn't showed you most of the world.
No.
And he's like, oh shit, I better put all this stuff in here somehow so that you guys can appreciate all the work I did.
Don't know what you're talking about. We've never done that ever.
No, never.
Yes, never. But yeah, so I'll be interested to see if they continue to do these exposition things. But they're definitely building up. So from what I found out, there's a remnant of that. There's a specific the race of people that they're talking about are specific to the having that Titan gene.
They have the Titan gene, yeah.
And so apparently a small section of them are with this more technologically advanced country, and that's kind of where it starts out.
And that was where his father was involved in a rebellion and got betrayed at the end, apparently.
Yeah. And that's kind of without going more into it. That's where they're kind of starting off with. So they're kind of building, and like you said, they're world building at this point. They're going back to the beginning to where they were kind of building up the world, kind of letting you see this other country. And I'm getting kind of Nazi Germany vibes a little bit.
They had the Hindenburg blimp type things going on too.
Yeah.
It's definitely that time period. Actually, judging from the time period, you could do a really interesting Full Metal Alchemist crossover.
Ooh.
The part where Edward and his dad got sent to that time period in Germany. There's some fan fiction potential. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, moving on.
I know
I'm curious how the season's going to go because I don't know if this is going to be the crew goes to this country and does some type of guerrilla strike, or is it going to be that the country gears up and fights them and they're going to be defending themselves?
I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, the end of the last season didn't really make it clear.
They kind of start to dabble into that a little bit in the first couple episodes, and I don't want to ruin it for you.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin it for you because it definitely sets it up, and I'm sure they're going to do the same thing where they're going to throw it on their head, but we'll see. It'll be interesting. So what's your next one?
On a more lighthearted note, here's another anime. This one is season 2 of That Time I Was Reincarnated as a Slime.
What?
Have you not seen this one?
No, I have not watched it yet.
This was outrageously popular.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so this is kind of like a deconstruction of isekai.
Oh, you did tell me about this one, yeah.
So this is about a guy who dies in his previous life, and he is reborn as a slime monster.
Doesn't he die it's super just not inconspicuous, but it's just kind of oh, he died, and it's
it's pretty much oh, he died of some tragic disease, whatever type thing.
It's kind of a dumb thing, yeah.
And he gets reborn as a slime with a bunch of overpowered abilities, he can eat things and gain their powers.
Yeah.
And as a slime, he's immune to most forms of damage, and
so
it's a lighthearted comedy type anime. It's a joy to watch. It's cute. It's funny.
So I did I did
It's
watch...
something just to chill if you had a hard day or if your brain is gone and you just want to watch something easy.
You don't want to think about it.
This is a great time for something like this.
So
it's not going to win an art award, but it's great.
But it's okay. I did watch the first episode of it, and I kind of watched a general recap of it a while back, just to kind of figure out if I liked it or not. And it gives me a little bit of Ni no Kuni vibes a little bit, which is...
it has similar art style for sure, and like the high-pitched voice acting kind of...
And the way... So it's also kind of like... So the way it's set up is they do that in Ni no Kuni 2, where basically you're a person... And somehow you get transported to this fantasy world, and you become like the king. You're like a long lost king of this country, and you kind of build your own country and things like that. It's the feeling I got from it as well.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh, I might really like this because I really like Ni no Kuni too.
I love that time I was reincarnated as a slime. It's a really fun anime.
So I was looking online. So they also have another one coming out that's going to be similar to that. This is not one of my picks. It's basically...
The spider one?
The spider one, yeah.
Which, yes, I'm going to watch that when it comes out. I'm wondering if it's going to be just a blatant ripoff of the idea.
That's what it feels like almost right off the bat, yeah.
Like, from the way they titled it, it sounds like it's going to be a blatant ripoff. But who knows? They might take it a different direction. I'm excited about it.
They're going to need to, otherwise it's going to be sad. So
I was looking at that one today, and apparently, like, the manga of it was very well received. So
awesome,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. So
what's your number 5?
My final one is Black Widow, the Black Widow movie, which actually stars Scarlett Johansson. So this is actually supposed to be coming out fairly soon, I think.
Can I just say that I can't believe she hasn't had a movie up till now? Because
which is ridiculous.
Every other character's had one.
So everybody else that I can think of has pretty much had their own movie, and it just is bizarre that they haven't gone in and tried to do anything with her, because she's a great character in my opinion. And
she's a cool character. She's got a lot of history.
Yeah.
And I know they got into some of that with the Captain America movies, but...
A little, but they never.
She definitely deserves her own screen time.
Well, I mean, so they even gave which is bizarre. So the only two characters that they really never gave their own movies to them were Hawkeye and the Falcon. Or if you want to do actual like main Avenger characters in there, they didn't do one for Falcon, and they didn't, or not. No, Falcon, Hawkeye, Black Widow. But they did one, and
which admittedly, Hawkeye did get a major character arc in the most recent Avengers movies.
He did,
but that was just because they were about to kill him off. But still,
well, maybe we'll see.
We'll see if he came back or not.
I don't know. We'll see. So they did that. So they did all that, and whenever they finally, so it's weird. So they kill her off, obviously in. I think it was Endgame. Yeah, I think it was Endgame. They killed her off. So
she got Thanos snapped.
Well, no, she didn't get Thanos snapped. She got whenever they went to look for the Soul Stone.
Oh, I thought Hawkeye was the one that died with the Soul Stone.
No, she does.
Black Widow died. Okay.
Black Widow dies. So whenever, so she dies, and from what I gathered, it's like the Soul Stone has all those souls kind of like in it, which is kind of where it is. So I'm wondering if this is going to be like if this is supposed to be set for like her, like after she joins S.H.I.E.L.D. and she has to go back to deal with some stuff, or is it going to be just kind of like a backstory, kind of like a Captain America, the first Avenger kind of thing, if they're going to do something like that?
Well, and the fact that they're releasing a movie for her now makes me think they plan to bring her back into the franchise at some point.
I don't know why she wouldn't want to do it. I mean, it's a money pit, or not a money pit. It's a money making machine essentially.
Well, yeah, I see why Marvel Studios would want to do it.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking for the actress herself. She's been playing this character for more than 10 years now.
But it's the thing is, like, it's essentially kind of like a steady gig for her.
But it is a steady gig, so...
And...
I don't know. We'll see what they want to do.
That's kind of what I was saying, too, is, like, I will be interested to see, because they've also got, like, they just came out with WandaVision, they came out with all this other stuff, these other, like, major female characters, so I think they're kind of, like, broadening the major female characters in the Marvel universe, which I'm interested to see. I want to see... I kind of want to see them get these lesser known characters a try.
Yeah, and I feel like they're world building again, because they kind of blew their big... Everything up till now has been focused on getting into this like Avengers Endgame and getting that whole story arc done.
Yeah.
And that was the focus of the whole like first and second wave of movies. And now I feel like they're going back. They're got to re-expand the world.
Fleshing out a lot of the characters.
They got to flesh out new characters and new ideas so they can build up another major arc, which who knows what they're going to do next. There's tons of cool stuff in Marvel Comics.
I hope so much that they're going to try and do this. But I'm going to throw a few names out here. So obviously they've got Scarlett Johansson in it. They've got Florence Pugh in it. David Harbour, which I love David Harbour. He's from Stranger Things, and plays the sheriff in Stranger Things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's all about it's funny. He's done a lot of posts that say I'm bringing the dad bod back. He basically has a gut and he doesn't care. It's pretty funny. So, but yeah, those are the two like major. They got Rachel Weisz is in it.
He's got a great Midwest face.
He really does, and he's very relatable. And I'm like, being a white male, I'm like I can go with it. But yeah, so. I'm reading it now. So it's actually set after Civil War. That's where this is supposed to be set at. So,
okay.
I hope they kind of play this up a little bit and kind of hopefully they say that they start to kind of bring her back, or maybe it's just her reliving her life a little bit in the Soul Stone. Hopefully, I don't know if they'll do it at the end, but I doubt. Who knows?
We'll see.
But yeah. So what is your final one?
Okay, so final one I picked out for this is Hollow Knight Silksong. Which, admittedly, we talked about Hollow Knight before too, but pretty sure...
Silksong, though, it's... Oh, my God.
Silksong's going to be awesome. As you know already, it stars Hornet,
yep.
who was the female protagonist from the original Hollow Knight game. You fight her a couple times, and you find out how she's related to the whole world you're exploring, and how she's, like, the daughter of a couple of the big rulers of the world.
Yep.
So, if you remember the end of the last game... In the best ending, the Hollow Knight gets locked up, and the Silk Hornet survives. And they say that Hornet becomes captured, and she is brought to this whole new kingdom of insects. And I guess she escapes the capture. Apparently, at this time, instead of starting at the top of the kingdom and fighting down, you're going to start at the bottom and work your way up.
Okay.
And kind of work your way back up to civilization, I guess. They mention it's going to have coral forests, mossy grottos, gilded cities, that type of things. They've clocked in over 150 new enemies.
Oh my God.
It has a whole different movement system set up for her. There's no release date yet, but there was an Edge article last month that revealed a ton more details of the gameplay than they had before. And the team even mentioned that they'd started working on the next game, which is not going to be Hollow Knight related.
Yeah.
Which that tells me that their art and concept team at least must be completely done with it. So yeah. I think it'll definitely be this year sometime. I don't know when.
That would be fun, dude. Yeah. So you actually got me into the Hollow Knight, the first Hollow Knight, which I was super excited that you got me into it. It's great.
It's got like that Dark Souls type difficulty, but it's got that fast 2D action to it, which I adore.
I definitely had to put it down a few times to get over some of the bosses.
There was some rage involved.
There was definitely some rage involved. But I have definitely not put as much time into it as you have. But I still can really enjoy the art style, the gameplay, and the music. It's just
the music and just the depth of the world as you go through it. Like you feel like there's so much more than what they tell you. They did so good with the art and the music and everything that it's just a pleasure.
Well, it's not something that they really did before. I mean, it's a roguelite kind of almost, or not a roguelite. It's more of a Metroidvania kind of Dark Souls type thing. But at the same time, it's very unique. It's more unique than what you're used to.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it immensely.
So
some honorable mentions, I guess.
So we got a few things left because I know we're kind of running along here. Let's run through our honorable mentions real quick. Let's hear some of your honorable mentions.
Okay, so some of these things are things that are definitely coming out. Some of these things are things.
Or maybe.
Some of these things are things that I hope are coming out. So Cells at Work Season 2 is definitely coming out.
Yes.
Another cute anime. I just adored it.
Yep.
I'm going to say Sackboy Big Adventure. I know it came out in November 2020, but who the hell's gotten to play it yet anyway, so it's going to be new for me.
You rich bastards with your PS5s, that's who.
Overwatch 2.
Yep.
I don't know if it's going to breathe new life into Overwatch or not, but my wife and I played the hell out of Overwatch 1, so looking forward to that.
We did play a lot of that, didn't we?
There's a new game I found today called The Gunk. It's made by the same guys who did Steam World Dig.
Okay.
The trailer reminds me a lot of Hob, which I don't know if you played that one or not, but
I
it's
played
one
Hot,
where you like...
He's got the big arm.
He's got the big arm.
Yeah.
Because they have like a couple of like space explorers who I guess are like, they're professional planet ransackers or something, but they find this alien planet with...
We be planet looters.
With black gunk everywhere, and apparently they, work to remove the gunk and discover what's going on in the world.
Saw that.
So it has some definite Hob vibes, and I'm looking... It sounds cool.
That'd be cool.
Diablo 4, Breath of the Wild 2 would both be great.
Don't start with me on Diablo 4.
And then a Dune movie, which we talked about this. I don't know. We haven't done a Dune episode because I'm scared to try and cover Dune in one episode. But anyway, hopefully the Dune movie will do justice to Dune. Finally, I've got to say the person who's doing the Dune movie has great fortitude.
He's got chutzpah.
He's got some chutzpah.
That's what he definitely does.
To be the third person to try to adapt Dune to movie format.
God help him. If he can do it, like I said, it's because there was that one.
He will be a legend if he can do a good job of it.
It's just finding that happy medium between, like I said, having a good art style and a good movie and having all the information in there and not making it 8 freaking hours long.
Well, because that's the thing is, Dune it's a philosophical work as much as it is a story.
Oh, we're getting into it already.
And history. Okay, we're not gonna do it. Okay, what are your honorable mentions?
There it is. James is like, my brain clicked into academic mode like nothing happened. It was like it's yesterday when I started reading that. I'm having flashbacks. So anyways, my honorable mentions, obviously, the big hype we just had around Resident Evil 8 Village.
Okay.
The trailer that I watched and the gameplay I watched looks amazing, and of course there are those creepy weird guys out there that are into like super tall women that show off their cleavage. Look up the trailer, you'll see what I mean.
Okay, I will look it up because I'm not sure where you're going with that.
It's a thing right now. Obviously, Deathloop, which is coming out from Arcane Studios, which is a smaller studio within Bethesda. You already mentioned Psychonauts 2, Horizon Forbidden West, which is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
Which I'm interested to see what they do with it. That's going to be PS5 exclusive. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is a Marvel... So it's got that Marvel Knights kind of feel to it, so it's the same genre as Iron Fist, Luke Cage...
Okay,
gotcha. It starts out. It came around at the same time as that kind of pulpy stuff did.
It's like high fantasy Chinese type thing.
Kind of stuff, but from what I've heard, they're going to do. Hopefully, they're going to do justice with it this time. So
okay.
The new Suicide Squad, which is coming out hopefully this year. Huge cast of like big actors in it.
I saw that, and I read an article yesterday from the director who is
James
apparently being allowed to pretty much do whatever he wants, which is very encouraging.
St. Louis boy.
Yeah, and because I didn't even bother watching the last Suicide Squad movie because I heard it was so terrible.
It was bad, to say the least.
So hopefully this will be better. Maybe we can make a movie night out of it.
I am super psyched for that one. So next one is the Eternals, which is kind of the New Gods analog in Marvel. It's a wow, I'm having a brain fart about who actually created it. It's a Jack Kirby creation. But it's going to have like Keanu Reeves, the guy from Game of Thrones who was Ned Stark. I can't remember who else, but it's got a bunch of really famous people. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. So obviously I've got Dune on there. I have another anime that's coming out. It's called Skate the Infinity, which is kind of weird. It's interesting. So it's kind of... Is
this the downhill skateboarding thing?
Yeah.
They just started on Funimation. The Simuldub just started like yesterday.
I want to see it.
Well, log into the Funimation account.
I know. I want to see it.
Let me know if it's good. I didn't watch. I don't know. It's got like the sports anime vibes, but it's also got this downhill like radical thing going on.
Which is why it interests me, and then also the art looks gorgeous on it. So I was like, even if it's just the art, if I just watch it for one season or a couple episodes to get my fix. Because I'm not a big sports anime kind of guy. But obviously, I also have Dr. Stone, Stone Wars Season 2.
I forgot Dr. Stone. How could I forget Dr. Stone?
That's like your vibe. But
that's like my jam, yeah.
It's essentially your personality in a anime at this point. So
I guess.
let's be fair. But you're a lot nicer than Dr. Stone.
I'm 1,000,000% certain that it'll be a great anime.
That's right. And as long as you can create cell phones out of primitive tools, I'm good for it. So, then I also have the second one anime I have is the Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2.
Ooh, that'd be a good one too. Speaking of darker anime,
yes,
that's another good one.
That's why I was throwing a few of those in there.
That's good. It's a darker take on the isekai genre. It's not as dark as Goblin Hero.
No.
Which hopefully season 2 of that'll come out sometime.
Who the hell knows, man. Then my final, obviously, pick is going to be My Hero Academia season 5 because it melds my two loves in life: anime and comic book heroes.
It's another like guilty pleasure anime.
Yeah,
I mean it's a straight up classic like shonen anime, right?
Yeah,
I mean
and I love it
right down to the dramatic posturing and the colorful cast. But it's great,
and I'm okay with that.
I even watched the movie in theaters when it came out. Was it 2 years ago?
No, you did. You didn't tell me that. That'd been cool to go see. Huh?
Yeah. No, it
Thanks
came
for
out.
inviting me, James.
Sorry, Dave.
I'm joking.
It was
honestly,
cool,
I was probably working. Honestly,
you probably were. We probably did invite you.
You're like, hey Kelly, you want to invite James? And Kelly's like, no, David's stupid. He smells funny, and you're just like, oh, we're gonna blame Kelly on this one.
We'll blame Kelly. It's officially her fault.
Sorry, Kelly.
She does listen to these. So
don't hate me now. Anyway, so that is kind of our wrap up. We went a little long this time, guys. James, I want to say thanks for coming out and just kind of throwing some things down that maybe some people out there didn't know about.
Definitely.
The things that we're really looking forward to. If you guys have any other suggestions, things that you guys are looking forward to in 2021, let us know on the Facebook page, Twitter, email us. Let us know what you guys are looking for because, like I said, that gives us ideas for things to kind of look up and hopefully research or even just play around with, watch, and then we can review it on the show and see how we feel about it because, you know, it might be something we love, it might be something that we cherish for us for life, or it might be something that we want to take a hammer and just destroy it and put it in the ground, you know, one of the two. So
it'll make an entertaining podcast either way. So
yeah, definitely that. So, but James, like I said, thanks for coming by.
Definitely.
Everybody out there, like I said, just hit us up on the social media sites, and if you guys have any questions, concerns, seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. All right, guys. Thanks. Have a wonderful day. Bye. If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.